Andre Gaines. I'm the director of the film.
I'm Kate Mara.
I'm Zassie Bates.
I'm Aldis Hodge.
And I'm Andre Holland, and this project is The Dutchman.
It's a really hard play to kind of understand. You know, I mean, it was written in 1964. This was before sort of slew, right after the assassination of JFK, before this slew of assassinations that occurred in the 60s. And I really wanted to modernize it. And you don't know much about Clay or Lula in the play. You never know who they really are. And so I wanted to really find out more about who they are and explore who they were. And I think that the idea of the psychological elements, or sort of turning it into a psychological thriller, is just because Clay is going through so many things internally that you can't really externalize on a stage. But when you put that in cinema, you're able to highlight those in some type of visual way. And so it was really this grand opportunity, especially with Andre Holland and with Kate both stepping into those roles to try to explore that.
Idea of double consciousness is one that W.B. Du Bois introduced to the world. I think it's one that was obviously super relevant to him, and I think it's impacted the whole field of Black studies, and I think it's one that we still are kind of wrestling with today as Black folks trying to figure out how to live with this sort of duality. I think at the beginning of the film, as you put it so beautifully, Andre, this kind of two-ness, recognizing oneself as oneself and also always seeing oneself through the eyes of other people.
I don't know. Is she? I mean, she's definitely a villain for sure. It was very complicated to play Lula. I embarrassingly was not familiar with the play at all when I got the offer for the film. But I've been a fan of Andre Holland's for a long time, so I was really excited to get the opportunity to work with him. And then when I read the original script, I was just sort of blown away by the character and the opportunity there. And then when I read the play, The Dutchman, I just sort of fell more in love with the idea of trying to figure Lula out, which I still don't think I have, but it was really fun to try and sink my teeth into it. It was very, very challenging.
Kaya relates to Clay's struggle. I think she reacts to Clay's struggle, but then also, has her own sense of identity that she wants to also challenge and push against, I think, in the way that Clay is also sort of trying to renegotiate how, he sees himself versus how the world sees him. And I think Kaya is experiencing that as a partner and also as a woman and as a Black woman. And so I think in certain ways, she, as their marriage is going through challenges, is also sort of in a place of renegotiation, but not in the same way that Clay is. And I feel like the characters don't really realize that they're also both in their own sort of place of flux. And so, yeah, that's what I think.
And when I think about Warren, I kind of, when I read the script for the first time, assigned him, his job in this journey for Clay is to punctuate this particular thing that he's supposed to either learn or have to be tasked with or challenged with again, because we are dealing with, like you said, the double consciousness. How do we see ourselves? How do we present? And then how does the world see us? And then what are the elements around that either help alleviate the stress or reinforce the stress? And with Warren, the thing that I thought was interesting was that even with his friend in peril, he still tells him, oh, but you still gotta step up and you still got to keep walking through this. Oh, no, we get it. And for me, metaphorically, a lot of times we grow up with a sense of we do what we have to do until we can do what we want to do. But a lot of us feel like we're still in a place where we have to submit. We have to break pieces of ourselves or sacrifice pieces of our happiness or our joy just to get through. And we get those societal pressures, family pressures, pressures from friends to just be like, yo, bury how you feel right now. I know this is important to you, but it's not important to the rest of us today, right now, right? So I looked at that as sort of a metaphorical or a theoretical point, rather, of even in the midst of everything, you're dealing with these pressures. You got your people, your job, your family, your friends that you feel responsible to. In that moment, have you learned the lesson to choose yourself over choosing them? Has Clay learned the lesson to choose himself over choosing what he's got to or thinks he has to do for Warren, right? So I'm not sure if that was the intention, but for me, as I looked at the whole visage of the entire story and every character and what moment or challenge they were actually presenting for Clay, I was like, what does Warren represent in Clay's journey of trying to choose himself? And I felt like he represented, those familial societal pressures that come from family. Even when we think we're doing good or showing love, or even though we think we're being supportive, we're not always aware of the position we're putting others in because of what we're asking of them, because of what we need from them, because of how we prioritize. So I kind of looked at it like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you for my next screenplay. Start getting to work.
I also just wanted to ask about the therapist character, because he's obviously plays much more into the script. Can you tell me a little bit about how? Because I mean, he's supposed to be the actual playwright.
Yeah, it's sort
Not
of
to give it away. Sorry.
Yeah, it that's fine. Spoiler. You guys gave us a great review, so you can give it away however you like. It morphed the character. The character morphed really from where I had this couple. I wanted to know more about Clay. So then I said, well, what does Clay do for a living? And what does Clay's marriage life look like? Or is Clay married? And then once it sort of established that, then it felt like, okay, this is a couple that's in crisis with each other. And so then that's where the therapist sort of came in. And then what it morphed into from there, sort of leaning into the psychological thriller aspect of the story, was the fact that this therapist was appearing, to Clay in different places and forms. And so that's really where it kind of gelled and made sense for it to to actually be the playwright, as opposed to some third party that's actually taking him through this moral play for him to kind of learn a lesson, or learn the lessons that he wasn't able to imbue on his initial characters. And so that provided this opportunity. And then who's better, to play this than Stephen McKinley Henderson? I mean, he was, again, every one of my first choices, said yes to this project. I got, very lucky. And Stephen McKinley Henderson, who is an award-winning thespian, knew Amiri Baraka, had a relationship, with him and his whole family, was very close with him. Some of the lines that Stephen said to me when we were shooting, I dropped into the film. My producing partner, John, is standing over here. It used to drive him crazy because I would just like rewrite something really quick, like say that, like that actually sounds better than what I wrote. Because it was just sort of these nuggets of poetry and philosophy and things like that. And so it was, maybe 2 or 3 sprinkled in there, but it just made sense. And he's here with us in spirit. He wasn't able to travel for the premiere, but sends all of you guys love and gives you a big hug from afar. And he was just incredible to work with. To work with these legends is something that we shouldn't ever take for granted, and I don't, for sure.